Hey, I want to let you know that I'm so thankful and excited that you're willing to be part of our leadership of the new Branches Initiative. As you know, Branches is this way that we come together to create a baseline of what does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. A lot of people talk a lot about that, but there's so many different words and concepts that causes so many of us to have different opinions about that one as we go. We're trying to pull all of St. Andrew's community together, the staff, the leadership, all across the board, even including our children and junior high kids, that we are attempting to have the same language and understanding what the scriptures actually teach about what it means to be a disciple. So in this training time, you'll be learning from our team what it means for you to head up a group. On a weekly basis, this is how it works as a leader. Your responsibility is really threefold. One is to facilitate conversation. 2, to make sure stories are told in a very timely way, maximum 5 minutes. And then 3, that the group is exposed to prayer. Whether they all pray or not, we'll hit that in a minute. So therefore, these are the 3. Let me break them down one at a time so that you're aware of what it is we're trying to accomplish. 1 is facilitating conversations. Your job is not to teach the content. Your job is to allow the video that I do that introduces the content, coupled with the 5 days that people have worked on coming to this thing, is they bring their notebooks, they've got their writing from 5 days, hopefully they'll have answered those questions, they'll hear what I say about that particular topic. So week 1 is, what does it mean to know Jesus Christ? So your job is just to make sure that everybody participates, everybody engages with that notion. Beware of rabbit trails where they're moving away from what does it mean to know Jesus Christ. What does that mean on a daily basis? What does it mean to open my heart? And so your facilitation of that is very important. That will probably take the bulk of your time, maybe 30 minutes or so in conversation. The other 2 pieces that I mentioned was the sharing of stories. In the very beginning, for most of you, that will be September 12th, the all-church gathering. We want the leaders to model sharing your story under 5 minutes. Very strongly encourage you to write that out and maybe read it so that you are letting people know that as we do this, we are wanting to share who we are, but not dominate half of our time together. So if there's 2 of you who are leaders, you each go 5 minutes and you model that for your team. Then every week, a week in advance, you say who would want to do it next week, so 2 people will volunteer. That's why we have a maximum of 8 in the group besides the leaders. When you facilitate the stories, you encourage them, write it out, come for sure around 4-ish minutes, and then you make sure that they stay under that as best as you can. So facilitating the content is the core, the guts of the hour you spend. Sharing stories is just that. It is so people get to know each other. That should probably open your time before the video. And then lastly, praying together. It's not to force everybody to pray or to get people to all pray out loud. You have to gauge your group and to see how comfortable they are. Your goal is that all of them, by the end of the time, are comfortable to be in a prayer group. Hopefully they all have prayed out loud at some point. If you have time and you can lead that, prayer request as your group becomes a little bit more cohesive. Now, I have one more thing to say about leading group process. There's 2 things that all the research tells us about leading groups, and here's what has to happen to build a healthy group. One is that as people disclose who they are and share what they've written down in their notebook and their stories, 2 things have to happen. One is, it's important that we take incremental steps, incremental baby steps towards depth. You have to lead that and model that in how you share your story. It doesn't mean don't be vulnerable, but what you don't want to do in the first time you meet a bunch of people is to take them to deep places so there's an expectation that they all have to reveal everything when they're sharing. You can blow apart your group the very first week if you don't take them baby steps toward depth. And that's important, is these incremental steps. You've got to gauge that. That's really your job, is to facilitate the conversation where there's safety around the table, The goal is that word, that concept. And secondly, besides incremental, is there has to be a mutual level of moving together as a group where they're safer and safer with each other. Incremental depth and mutual stepping into this depth. In other words, if a couple of people start really growing deep, they start dominating, they start sharing a whole lot of stuff, and other people, you see them kind of leaving the group, your job is to pull these folks up, to re-engage those on the outside. Those two things are essential to running a small group. Incremental baby steps to vulnerability and intimacy, as well as a mutuality of your growth in that level. So mutual and incremental. If you do that, you model that by how you share your stories, you make sure you facilitate the conversation, the content will come from the video and the notebook, and then you pray together, you will have done a great job with branches. So thank you for doing this. If you're in a life group and you're leading, or you're not there September 12th and you're doing this and this is all you're getting for your training, thank you for doing this, and you can judge how you deal with the stories and the prayer based on the context you find yourself in. But the most important thing is when we walk out of branches, there's a baseline of understanding of what does it mean to know, trust, love, and follow Jesus Christ. So thanks again for being a leader. Have a great time in this process and let us know how it goes.